Chapter 6: Stop Fuming and Fretting. Many people make life unnecessarily difficult for themselves by dissipating power and energy through fuming and fretting. Do you ever fume and fret? Here is a picture of yourself. If you do. The word fume means to boil up, to blow off, to emit vapor, to be agitated, to be distraught, to seethe. The word fret is equally descriptive. It is reminiscent of a sick child in the night. A petulant half-cry, half-whine. It ceases, only to begin again. It has an irritating, annoying, penetrating quality. To fret is a childish term, but it describes the emotional reaction of many adults. The Bible advises us to fret not thyself, Psalm 37 verse 1. This is sound advice for the people of our time. We need to stop fuming and fretting and get peaceful if we are to have power to live effectively. And how do we go about doing so? A first step is to reduce your pace, or at least the tempo of your pace. We do not realize how accelerated the rate of our lives has become, or the speed at which we are driving ourselves. Many people are destroying their physical bodies by this pace, but what is even more tragic, they are tearing their minds and souls to shreds as well. It is possible for a person to live a quiet existence physically and yet maintain a high tempo emotionally. Even an invalid can live at too high a pace from that standpoint. The character of our thoughts determines pace. When the mind goes rushing on pell-mell from one feverish attitude to another, it becomes feverish, and the result is a state bordering on petulance. The pace of modern life must be reduced if we are not to suffer profoundly from its debilitating overstimulation and superexcitement. This overstimulation produces toxic poisons in the body and creates emotional illness. It produces fatigue and a sense of frustration, so that we fume and fret about everything, from our personal troubles to the state of the nation and the world. If the effect of this emotional disquiet is so pronounced physically, what must its effect be on that deep inner essence of the personality known as the soul? It is impossible to have peace of soul if the pace is so feverishly accelerated. God won't go that fast. He will not endeavor to keep up with you. He says in effect, go ahead if you must with this foolish pace, and when you are worn out I will offer my healing. But I can make your life so rich if you will slow down now and live and move and have your being in me. God moves imperturbably, slowly, and with perfect organization. The only wise rate at which to live is God's rate. God gets things done, and they are done right, and He does them without hurry. He neither fumes nor frets. He is peaceful and therefore efficient. This same peace is offered to us. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. John 14 verse 27. In a sense this is a pathetic generation, especially in the great cities, because of the effect of nervous tension, synthetic excitement, and noise, but the malady extends into the country districts also, for the air waves transmit tension. I was amused by an old lady who, in talking about this matter, said, "Life is so daily." That remark certainly spoke volumes about the pressure, responsibilities, and tension of daily life. Its persistent, insistent demand upon us is provocative of pressure. One wonders whether this generation of Americans is not so accustomed to tension that many are in the unhappy state of not being comfortable without it. The deep quietness of woods and valleys, so well known to our forefathers, is an unaccustomed state to them. The tempo of their lives is such that in many instances they have an incapacity to draw upon the sources of peace and Quietness which the physical world offers. One summer afternoon my wife and I went for a long walk. In the woods. We were stopping at the beautiful Lake Mohonk mountain house, which is set in one of the finest natural parks in America, 7,500 acres of virgin mountainside in the middle of which is a lake lying like a gem in the forest. The word Mohonk means lake in the sky. Eons ago some giant upheaval of the earth cast up these sheer cliffs. You come out of the deep woods onto some noble promontory and rest your eyes on great valleys, set among hills, rock-ribbed and ancient as the sun. These woods, mountains, and valleys constitute what ought to be a sure retreat from every confusion of this world. On this afternoon as we walked there was a mixture of summer showers and sunlit hours. We were drenched and started to fret about it a bit because it took the press out of our clothes. Then we told each other that it doesn't hurt a human being to get drenched with clean rain water, that the rain feels cool and fresh on one's face, and that you can always sit in the sun and dry yourself out. We walked under the trees and talked and then fell silent. We were listening deeply to the quietness. In a strict sense, the woods are never still. There is tremendous activity, always in process, but nature makes no strident noises regardless of the vastness of its operation. Nature's sounds are quiet, harmonious. On this beautiful afternoon, nature was laying its hand of healing quietness upon us, and we could actually feel the tension being drawn off. Just as we were falling under this spell, the faint sounds of what passes for music came to us. It was nervous, high-strung music of the jitterbug variety. Presently through the woods came 3 young people, 2 young women and a young man, and the latter was lugging a portable radio. They were 3 young city people out for a walk in the woods and tragically enough were bringing their noise along with them. They were nice young folk, too, for they stopped and we had a pleasant talk with them. It occurred to me to ask them to turn that thing off and listen to the music of the woods, but I didn't feel it was my business to instruct them, and finally they went on their way. We commented on the loss they were incurring, that they could pass through this peacefulness and not give ear to the music that is as old as the world, harmony and melody the like of which man has never equaled, the song of the wind through the trees, the sweet notes of birds singing their hearts out, the whole background of the music of the spheres. This is still to be found in America, in our woods and great plains, in our valleys, in our mountain majesties, and where the ocean foams on soft shores of sand. We should avail ourselves of its healing. Remember the words of Jesus, "Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while." Mark 6 verse 31, even as I write these words and give you this good advice, I recall instances where it has been necessary to remind myself to practice the same truth, which emphasizes that we must everlastingly discipline ourselves to quietness if we expect its benefits in our lives. One autumn day Mrs. Peake and I took a trip into Massachusetts to see our son John at Deerfield Academy. We told him we would arrive at 11 a.m., and we pride ourselves on the good old American custom of promptness. Therefore, being a bit behind schedule, we were driving at breakneck speed through the autumnal landscape. My wife said, "Norman, did you see that radiant hillside?" "What hillside?" I asked. "It just went by on the other side," she explained. "Look at that beautiful tree." "What tree?" I was already a mile past it. "This is one of the most glorious days I have ever seen," my wife said. How could you possibly imagine such amazing colors as these New England hillsides in October? In fact, she said, it makes me happy inside. That remark of hers so impressed me that I stopped the car and went back a quarter of a mile to a lake backed by towering hills dressed in autumn colors. We sat and looked and meditated. God with his genius and skill had painted that scene in the varied colors which he alone can mix. In the still waters of the lake lay a reflected vision of his glory, for the hillside was unforgettably pictured in that mirror-like pond. For quite a while we sat without a word until finally my wife broke the silence by the only appropriate statement that one could make, "He leadeth me beside the still waters." Psalm 23 verse 2. We arrived at Deerfield at 11, but we were not tired. In fact, we were deeply refreshed. To help reduce this tension which seems to dominate our people everywhere, you can start by reducing your own pace. To do that you will need to slow down, quiet down. Do not fume. Do not fret. Practice being peaceful. Practice the peace of God which passeth all understanding. Philippians 4 verse 7, then note the quiet power sense that wells up within you. A friend of mine who was compelled to take an enforced rest as a result of pressure wrote me, "Many lessons have been learned during this enforced retreat. Now I know better than before that in the quiet we become aware of his presence. Life can get muddled. But muddied water, says Lao Tse, let stand, will become clear." A physician gave some rather whimsical advice to a patient. An aggressive, go-getter type of businessman. Excitedly he told the doctor what an enormous amount of work he had to do and that he had to get it done right away quick or else. "I take my briefcase home every night and it's packed with work," he said with nervous inflection. "Why do you take work home with you at night?" the doctor asked quietly. "I have to get it done," he fumed. "Cannot someone else do it, or help you with it?" asked the doctor. "No," the man snapped. "I am the only one who can do it. It must be done just right, and I alone can do it as it must be done. And it has to be done quickly. Everything depends upon me. If I write you a prescription, will you follow it?" asked the doctor. This, believe it or not, was the prescription. His patient was to take off 2 hours every working day and go for a long walk. Then he was to take off a half day a week and spend that half day in a cemetery. In astonishment the patient demanded, "Why should I spend a half day in a cemetery?" "Because," answered the doctor, "I want you to wander around and look at the gravestones of men who are there permanently. I want you to meditate on the fact that many of them are there because they thought even as you do, that the whole world rested on their shoulders. Meditate on the solemn fact that when you get there permanently the world will go on just the same. And, as important as you are, others will be able to do the work you are now doing. I suggest that you sit on one of those tombstones and repeat this statement. 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it is past, and as a watch in the night." Psalm 90 verse 4. The patient got the idea. He slowed his pace. He learned to delegate authority. He achieved a proper sense of his own importance. He stopped fuming and fretting. He got peaceful. And, it might be added, he does better work. He is developing a more competent organization and he admits that his business is in better condition. A prominent manufacturer was afflicted with tension, in fact. He was in a very high-strung frame of mind. As he himself described it, he leapt out of bed every morning and immediately got himself into high gear. He was in such a rush and dither that he made his breakfast on soft-boiled eggs because they slid down fast. This hectic pace left him fagged and worn at about midday. He sank into bed every night exhausted. It so happens that his home is situated in a grove of trees. Very early one morning, unable to sleep, he arose and sat by the window. He became interested in watching a bird emerge from his night's sleep. He noticed that a bird sleeps with his head under his wing, the feathers pulled all around himself. When he awakened, he pulled his bill out from under his feathers, took a sleepy look around, stretched one leg to its full length, meanwhile stretching the wing over the leg until it spread out like a fan. He pulled the leg and wing back and then repeated the same process with the other leg and wing, whereupon he put his head down in his feathers again for a delicious little cat nap, only in this case a bird nap. Then the head came out again. This time the bird looked around eagerly, threw his head back, gave his wings and legs two more big stretches, then he sent up a song, a thrilling, melodic song of praise to the day, wherewith he hopped down off the limb, got himself a drink of cold water, and started looking for food. My high-strung friend said to himself, if that's the way the birds get up, sort of slow and easy like, why wouldn't it be a good method for me to start the day that way? He actually went through the same performance, even to singing, and noticed that the song was an especially beneficial factor, that it was a releasing mechanism. I can't sing, he chuckled, but I practiced sitting quietly in a chair and singing. Mostly I sang hymns and happy songs. Imagine, me singing, but I did. My wife thought I was bereft of my senses. The only thing I had on the bird was that I did a little praying, too. Then, like the bird, I felt like some food, and I wanted a good breakfast, bacon and eggs. And I took my time eating it. After that I went to work in a released frame of mind. It surely did start me off for the day minus the tension, and it helped me go through the day in a peaceful and relaxed manner. A former member of a championship university crew told me that their shrewd crew coach often reminded them to win this or any race, row slowly. He pointed out that rapid rowing tends to break the stroke, and when the stroke is broken it is with the greatest difficulty that a crew recovers the rhythm necessary to win. Meanwhile other crews pass the disorganized group. It is indeed wise advice, to go fast, row slowly. In order to row slowly or to work slowly and maintain the steady pace that wins, the victim of high tempo will do well to get the coordinating peace of God into his mind, his soul, and, it might be added, into his nerves and muscles also. Have you ever considered the importance of having the peace of God in your muscles, in your joints? Perhaps your joints will not pain so much when they have the peace of God in them. Your muscles will work with correlation when the peace of God who created them governs their action. Speak to your muscles every day and to your joints and to your nerves, saying, fret not thyself. Psalm 37 verse 1, relax on a couch or bed, think of each important muscle from head to feet, and say to each, the peace of God is touching you. Then practice feeling that peace throughout your entire body. In due course your muscles and joints will take heed.